like to call this next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would like to call Dr. Chris Ciaroni to the stand. May I proceed?
Yes, you may.
Please state your name for the court.
My name is Dr. Chris Ciaroni.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a board-certified and licensed clinical psychiatrist.
How long have you been a board-certified psychiatrist?
I was certified in 1993, so approximately 16 years ago.
And can you give the court some information on your education on how you became a psychiatrist?
Certainly. I received my bachelor's in psychology from Penn State University in 1987. I then went on to complete my doctorate and received my residency at Rutgers.
Do you have any professional affiliations?
I do. I'm also a tenured professor of psychology at the University of Chicago.
And have you been published in the field?
I've been published several times.
Do you have any area of specialty within psychiatry?
Yes, I specialize primarily in treating and assessing patients, especially patients with suicidal tendencies or patients who are deemed a threat to themselves or others.
Now redirecting your attention to your relationship with Leigh Hamilton, can you explain to us how you know Leigh Hamilton, please, Doctor?
Yes, I also work as a consultant, and he was referred to me by his employer, Midlands University.
Did you conduct this assessment?
I did conduct this assessment. I conducted it in October of 2003.
And what exactly did this assessment entail?
Well, I of course wanted to speak with the patient, so I gave him a personal health questionnaire, and also I interviewed him, as well as reviewing his medical records and administering an EEG and a CT scan, and reviewing these for any neurological problems.
Is this assessment common practice within your field?
Yes, it's mandatory in psychiatric circles.
And did you learn anything significant as a result of this assessment?
I did. Mr. Hamilton seemed to hate guns. I would say he even feared them. He had no instances of suicidal ideation or past suicide attempts, and it had no correlation with drug or alcohol abuse, which is often associated with suicide.
Now, as a result of these findings, Doctor, did you come to any medical diagnosis?
I did.
And what is that diagnosis?
I diagnosed Professor Hamilton with a mild case of clinical depression.
When you say mild, Doctor, can you explain what exactly a mild case of clinical depression would be?
Certainly. Clinical depression is what's known as a spectral disorder. Therefore, the specific symptomology of patients runs the gamut from mild, including loss of interest or weight gain, which Mr. Hamilton had, all the way up to severe, which would be suicidal tendencies and self-injurious behavior, neither of which Mr. Hamilton had.
Now, Doctor, you also mentioned a little earlier that your specialty was specifically within suicidal tendencies.
Yes, I did. While none of my patients have ever committed suicide, I am well versed in the empirical data on the subject, including causes and preventative measures.
Did you assess whether Professor Hamilton had any suicidal tendencies during this 2003 assessment?
Naturally, as is recourse for any patient with even mild clinical depression, I assessed him for suicidal tendencies.
And what did that assessment for suicidal tendencies entail?
I again reviewed his medical records in more detail and asked him if he had any familial symptoms of suicide.
Did you find any suicidal tendencies within Professor Hamilton in 2003?
Absolutely no.
Now, Doctor, did you ever meet with Professor Hamilton after 2003?
I did. I met with Professor Hamilton again 2 weeks prior to his death, September 10th, 2006.
And I'm sorry, backtracking a little bit. We spoke about the diagnosis of clinical depression. Did you prescribe a treatment course for Professor Hamilton as a result of this diagnosis?
I did. I put Professor Hamilton on Zoloft, which is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. I put him on a low dose, approximately 100 milligrams. And then I referred him to a colleague of mine, Dr. A. Rubenstein, for regular therapy appointments.
Can mild clinical depression be cured, Doctor?
Certainly. It's a common misconception that mental illness is a life sentence of sorts, but mental illness can be treated and even cured.
As a result of this diagnosis, did you suggest any changes to Professor Hamilton's employment status?
None whatsoever. Mild depression isn't particularly invasive.
Now going again, you mentioned that you said that you met with Professor Hamilton in 2006?
I did. I met with him September 10th, 2006, which is approximately 2 weeks before his death.
And what did this meeting entail?
Well, I conducted the same exact battery of tests I had in October of 2003, this time including my report with our previous visit, as well as Dr. Rubenstein's updates that had been sent me.
And did you find anything significant as a result of this second assessment in 2006?
Yes, I found that Mr. Hamilton had had no episodes or outbursts for 2 years, and that he had stopped going to therapy in February of 2005 at his therapist's own suggestion.
As a result of these significant findings, did you make any changes to Professor Hamilton's diagnosis?
I did.
And what were these changes?
I deemed that Professor Hamilton no longer had symptoms with mild depression.
And as a result of no longer having symptoms of mild depression, did you suggest changes to his treatment?
I did. I took Mr. Hamilton off of Zoloft.
Now, again, did you once again review Professor Hamilton's suicidal tendencies, if he had any?
Certainly.
And did you find any suicidal tendencies?
Again, I found nothing whatsoever.
And doctor, this was like you said, 2 weeks prior to his death.
Yes, 2 weeks.
May I approach the bench?
Yes, you may.
May I retrieve?
Certainly.
May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Dr. Ciaroni, do you recognize this document?
I do.
Can you tell the court what it is?
This is Midland's autopsy report on the death of Mr. Leigh Hamilton.
And if you could turn to final page. I'm sorry. I just wanted to actually ask this because I wasn't really sure how to, this is off the record. We needed to get this in through a witness, and this was the only witness we could get it in through because she had been one of the only people to review it. So would I have to go into like what it says, or can I
What are
just
you
have-
trying to get into?
Well, because we have it, I remember you told us that they weren't necessarily taking the
As a
autopsy
pretrial.
as a pretrial matter, and that you have to bring it in through a witness.
But
So
they
we
did
were-
still in the stipulations waive any objections, didn't
Yeah.
They waived any objections to it being, put in, but you, like, I guess you said that judges weren't letting you reference it in closings unless you had it officially
Well, why
in
don't
as
you just,
evidence.
why don't you just take it and say, I'd like to enter it into evidence?
That's all I have, I wasn't
That's all
sure,
you have to
okay,
do.
I thought I had to go through more steps.
No,
to
because
think
they
of what it would
waived
be
any
exactly.
objections.
So
Okay.
basically, just show it to her, and what is this? This is the autopsy report at this time without the.
Okay, that's what I thought I was
Yep.
missing something.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
At this time, Your Honor, I would like to enter the autopsy report into evidence.
Okay. It may be entered.
This is plaintiff's defense.
Defense. Objection.
Yeah, you might want to, I was going to say you have to show that to your
Okay.
opponent before you show it to the witness, but.
I wasn't sure because it was already in, like, at the table, that's why. Okay.
Still show it to you.
Only if it's already admitted as evidence.
Okay.
And do you have any objection?
No objections. May I approach the bench?
Yes, you may.
The defense has no more questions at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?